Hey guys, welcome to a new market update video. I'm recording this on Saturday, which is a bit earlier than before, so excuse me in case there's some changes before you see this. But generally, during the weekend, it's pretty slow, so I think we should be just fine. Anyways, we had like a pretty big week in terms of price action, in terms of ETF inflows, which saw over 2 billion in inflows last week alone. And with that, we also broke the daily 200 MA, which is the purple line. We broke the big channel. Of course, the top side is a bit messy, but overall, this channel has been pretty accurate. And with that, we also broke the local highs from September. So with that, we've had now going from the August low, we had let's count this high, we had a higher low, higher low, and another higher high. So it's pretty clear that there's a solid uptrend on this daily time frame right now. Of course, to get like a proper, really high time frame breakout, we need to break the all-time high, and then that would likely set us up for a move to like 80k plus at least. But for now, this is looking good. Of course, the main thing which we're going to talk about for a bit is the elections which are coming up. There's no doubt, which we can see here, that going by the odds, which Trump has seen an increase according to polling market, like the more the more chance of Trump winning the election, the better Bitcoin has done, which can be seen very clearly on this chart. So I think that's also partially why we saw so many ETF inflows. Like Bitcoin is basically the Trump trade for a lot of TradFi people as well. So I think there's a lot of funds and just investors in general that are betting more on a Trump win as his odds are going up, and they're using Bitcoin or Bitcoin ETFs to do so. So what does this mean? Basically, according to Polymarket, it's like a 60-40 split. Of course, this has been changing around quite a lot. And until the actual election night itself and the results, we just don't have an idea. The downside of Trump going up before is that if more of his win is getting priced in, and he ends up losing anyways, it will likely cause a bigger down move. Because I'm still assuming, at least for the first, let's say, 1 or 2 weeks, a Trump win will mean up, a Kamala win will mean down. I mean, whether it makes sense in the long run or not, which I don't think so, well, somewhat, but it will happen because everyone is positioned this way, everyone is thinking this way. So even if you don't truly believe it, I'm sure you're gonna want to front run other people doing so. Personally, I won't sell any of my long-term spot positions or anything going into this. It doesn't matter who wins. I think both administrations will end up printing trillions of dollars again, which will likely just help us go up in the long run. But short term, I do think it's going to be pretty binary, where a Trump win means up and a Kamala win means down. But 2025 should be good regardless, I think, for things like Bitcoin. It might be a bit more rough for the more regulatory challenged sectors like DeFi, etc. I think those would benefit even more from a Trump win and might suffer more from a Kamala win, as those are basically, or is the main sector that the SEC has been going after, looking at things like Uniswap, Lido, etc., especially the US-based ones, of course. I think on the Trump win, those things should just skyrocket and probably do quite well in 2025, as well as most alts. So yeah, that's basically what we're working with. It's gonna be pretty volatile, I think, depending on if there's like massive changes in terms of the prediction markets and the odds of both candidates. I think we'll see volatility going into the election night. I think the election night itself is going to be extremely volatile, especially if they go into it with around like a 50 or 60% split or odds for one candidate. Like imagine like there's an important swing state result, let's say Pennsylvania, one or the other wins. I think you'll be able to see like a few K BTC moves depending on the result. It's gonna get crazy. I would really recommend not trading this, as it's gonna be more like gambling at that point, unless you got some insane edge with which you think you know what's gonna happen. But I don't know. I wouldn't touch it with any leverage. Like I said, I'm just keeping my spot, not doing anything with it, depending on who wins. I don't care. Like even if Kamala wins, I think by the time you're getting to the selling, I think a lot of the move has already been done, because throughout the night you'll get these results from a few of these swing states, and as the night goes on, you'll probably see more and more of one candidate being priced in. So yeah, really not going to sell into the panic or buy into the pump in case of Trump in, for that matter. So just sticking it out and looking at the long run. That's basically it for the next few weeks, I'd say. I'm trying to not go into any leverage positions in general right now. Just think it's too close to the election. Just gonna take a chill and yeah, I mean, it's probably gonna get pretty crazy afterwards, especially if Trump wins. So also want to be rested for when that time comes and not waste too much capital before it. So that's the plan. Moving on. The total market cap looking pretty good here. We just need to break out here at this point at like 2.4-ish trillion. Not sure if we're gonna get it before the election, but I mean, if it does, this is just gonna look great. Long time frame move up, big correction, consolidation, whatever, and I mean the next move here should get us to 3 trillion if we do move up. Which is of course, by the way, the 2021 all-time high, which it didn't break just yet. BTC broke its all-time high, but the overall market didn't because altcoins underperformed that much. Total 2 kind of shows the story. This is everything excluding BTC. So you can see this is really far off, like almost or basically a 2x from its all-time high. So this is a long, long way to go. I do think a breakout here would lead to this retest of the cycle highs. And then if that one breaks, which is a nice, got a nice clear horizontal level here. I think if this one breaks, it's gonna get crazy and altcoins are just gonna go crazy. I think that's also the time when Bitcoin dominance is really gonna come down. Might be before, but at this point it should really do so. So yeah, keeping an eye on that level. Then we have ETH. Think it's gonna be pretty choppy unless or until it breaks 2.8k, which is of course a pretty clear level here. With it was the range low throughout most of 2024. It retested it into resistance first, then it held as support, and since then it held quite a few times until we broke down during that big August flush. Since then, retested it a few times, held this resistance. So now, yeah, I mean, this is a level to break, ideally above 3k as well, so we're above the daily 200 MA, but 2.8k is the first level to watch. I mean, it's not that far up, it's less than 10%, so should also be roughly in line with the Bitcoin all-time high, which is like 7% away or 8. Yeah, so good level to watch. And Bitcoin dominance has just been grinding up and up and up. Almost filled this big inefficiency now, way back from 2021. Could be a decent level for it to start stalling out a bit, but I mean, until this really gets some kind of strong reversal, this kind of candle. Of course, this didn't end up being a local top, but you want to have some sort of strength from alts, and usually ETH will have to lead for that. I think a good reversal point could be a Trump win, for example. As I mentioned, it's likely going to be relatively more beneficial for alts. Not saying alts will outperform straight away, but I think that could be a good catalyst for alts to start outperforming BTC for a while. Might not be after it breaks all-time highs though. It's usually the moment it does break, it's going to be a volatile move up. And then BTC just extracts more liquidity from the rest of the market, which is good, I think, because that gives it some strength to keep going. But yeah, those are things to watch out for. But this 60% level is definitely a good one. But I mean, so far, this is just crushing every potential resistance and been trending up for the past 2 years. Eigenlayer, pretty interesting level, as I mean, obviously a new launch. It launched pretty low compared to the expectations earlier this year. The fully diluted valuation, which it was priced at roughly earlier this year, was 20 billion. It's now at 6. I do still think this is one of the more interesting innovations this cycle, probably Eigenlayer and Hyperliquid if I had to guess. Doesn't mean it has to do well. Of course, the valuation is pretty high, but the actual market cap is 700 billion, little less. There's no unlocks for another year, but I do think this really needs ETH to do well. It's mostly ETH relative or based coins, so if ETH does pretty poorly, you'll see coins like these and all these other ETH related L2s, etc. And they usually do pretty bad. So I think when ETH goes, this will fly as there's no real inflows or unlocks for like another year. So it's pretty easy to pump. It's an interesting protocol for sure. But yeah, I mean, you need some upside momentum. But I do think this can be interesting. Now it's trading like in the middle of the range, so pretty much in the middle of nowhere here, but good one to watch. Aptos, I think this is potentially like turning this bigger trend around. It hit like $20 two times already this cycle, so that's pretty crazy. Like it already had like two cycles, and it's now kind of forming the same kind of pattern as it did here in 2023. Um, I think both of last times it was mostly up bid pushing this up, so the Korean market or the Korean investors like going crazy on this. At this point, I think the market cap is similar to Sui, but the fully diluted valuation is like half of it because there's just more unlocked already. I do think as long as it trades like above this 200 daily MA EMA, this is a pretty decent uptrend here. It followed Sui up, and I mean, I'm not gonna fully compare them. Of course, there's a lot of differences, etc. But I found this chart pretty interesting. So you can see here that Aptos relative to Sui is trading at basically the lowest point it has been. Usually it's trading around like, let's say the middle of this range is like 10. So that means like one Aptos is like 10 Sui. Yeah, that's it. And now it's like below 5. So not like you can properly chart these against each other, but it does show like these things are similar in terms of their what they do. They're both mostly VC coins. They're pretty large, and people tend to compare them against each other. So I think comparing the relative price isn't always that crazy. I mean, people used to look at the Doge sheep chart relative to each other, and usually you could kind of rotate between the two depending on how valuable they were relative to each other. So keeping an eye on this, let's see if it can like deviate and get back above these lows where usually it got picked up, Aptos relative to Sui. So let's see. Interesting one for sure. I do own some Aptos, and I mean, I'm just hoping it can kind of get a similar move going as here, where it starts filling up this inefficiency up to like 12, 13-ish. And I mean, so far, trend is up, good volume increase, so it looks decent. Stacks is one, I'm holding this for like 2 years already. It's the main Bitcoin beta coin, I'd say. So far, I mean, it's not doing too bad, not doing great either. Now challenging this daily 200 MA. I think if it can flip this and mostly like this $2 range, I think it should be or should start accelerating pretty nicely here. I do think this overall structure here with like this almost rounded bottom looks pretty good, I'd say, for like a nice base up. Just needs to break this region here, and I think it should be good for a move back to like the $3 area up here. Their Nakamoto upgrade is going live really soon, which will reduce block times from like 10 minutes to 10 seconds, I think. So that could also be the catalyst to get this ecosystem going a bit and actually get some proper adoption and usage of the chain itself, or the L2 in this case. Then Doge is really interesting as this thing has finally started to move. Of course, meme coins have had huge runs lately and throughout most of the cycle, but besides like earlier this year, Dogecoin has mostly been left behind for this entire area here, even though all these on-chain alts or meme coins have been doing crazy kind of moves. So now this thing is kind of going and it's outperforming most of the other big meme coins. Of course, this is still the number one. It will be like the easiest thing for bigger investors to move into, as it's listed everywhere. There's a lot of liquidity. Not all of them will go on chain and buy like the most hyped or hot meme coin that's trading there, because usually those valuations and liquidity is pretty low, relatively speaking, of course. But looking at the chart itself, like this 12 cents area was important to me. Looking at it like from a horizontal price level. And now it's also trading above the day 200 MA. And I mean, this thing has basically just been going up for the past 7 or 8 days. 40% move is quite large on this. And I mean, we know how this tends to move. It's usually like up only or like nothing, like slowly down. So who knows? Maybe this is the start of one of these kind of moves. Of course, it did already move quite a bit. I would be happy to open up like swing longs or whatever on a retest of this region up here. I think that should be decent as long as it's held. But I do also realize that if this goes, usually you barely get any retests. So we'll see. I would probably have allocated into this. Like I do hold spot on this. It's always like a long-term back of me. Like I just prefer holding this to at least get some kind of meme exposure, which is relatively safe. I would already add on or have added on more in terms of leverage or longs, but like I said, I'm just trying to keep it pretty chill with the upcoming elections, and there's no need for me to go crazy just yet. I mean, if everything goes how I think it goes in 2025, there will be plenty of opportunities and plenty of time, and my spot backs will suffice until then. Metis is one I bought into like last week somewhere. It's doing like pretty decent here. It's also similar to the stacks kind of bottoming formation, I'd say. So it's mostly like a rounded bottom with like increasingly higher lows. We had some equal high highs, but now it made a higher high up here. So that's decent, but right now the big level up here is like this $50 range. So we got a daily 200 MA or EMA, which is holding price down so far, with the MA right above, and then we got this horizontal at 50, which is basically at the same level. So I think if this clears 50, it's gonna do pretty well. Of course, this is also an L2, so depending on how ETH does, I think like if ETH goes crazy, this will start moving, similar to like Arbitrum, Optimism, etc. All those coins. So that's a requirement for this to see continued strength higher. But overall, I think this looks pretty decent. There's more things moving on top of Metis. They're also starting to, I think, there's no meme coins on here just yet. So I think just getting like a meme coin or community meme coin on there could really kickstart this ecosystem as well, which has been the go-to strategy by a lot of these chains. Like we had Puff on Mental, we have Foxy on Linea, and those things really can help bring more attention and capital into the network or ecosystem. So that's something to watch out for. Until then, I mean, this was a pretty strong move from these lows. Just hope it can break 50, and then from there on out, it's like this is a pretty clean level, rounded or round number as well. So 50 is the level to watch. Break that, and I think we can start looking back for levels like these up here, like 70-ish, which as you can see has also been an important one up here. So yeah, 50, then 70, and then we'll see. But let's try to break 50 first. Mantra has been like just up only. This has been one of the best performing RWA coins. I think it's the biggest in terms of market cap right now. This thing has just been up only this cycle. It's kind of crazy, but had a nice like I'll just call it the first head and shoulders down here with these three bottoms. From there on out, the key level to break was this 105, which we talked about before. And from there on out, the level we were watching was the all-time high. Well, it's basically in price discovery now, so it's anyone's guess how high this goes. I do think a retest of all-time highs wouldn't be ideal, but could be a decent retest. Of course, I don't want it to fall back below here. But I mean, seeing how strong this is, like the dips are getting balled up quite well. I would say it's probably difficult if you're not in this already to get exposure. In that case, I would probably watch for a decent sized dip and then see how it reacts there. But so far, just chill and steady and holding this as long as it keeps trending up. Then we have Pair, PYR, whatever you want to call it, Vulcan Forged. We saw a decent gamify move like last week. Like some coins were getting decent moves like Mafia, etc. The coins that launched last or early this cycle. Pair has still been refusing to move. Like to be fair, like on the on market weakness, it's been holding around here, but whenever it's strong, there's also relatively little movement. I do think with the recent addition of the Bybit perpetuals, I think MaxC and Bitget also launched perpetuals on this. It could help bring some more volatility and just volume in general on this. Still trading about this range low. I think as long as it holds this area, at some point this is one of those charts that just goes crazy. But I mean, I do want to see it hold around this region, and as long as it does, I'll just hold it back and see how it does. This is one of those things that the moment you end up selling it, it will just move like 100% the week after. So that's why I'm just being patient on this and seeing where it wants to go. Then Seapol, we've been tracking this for a while, basically since this higher low was formed down here. We've been talking about it on the YouTube videos. Since then, you can see, I mean, it's just an uptrend. It's a volatile uptrend, but it's an uptrend. The big level to break here was this 15 to 16 level. Did so, shot up all the way to like 20 cents, now came down. But as you can see, this candle yesterday held the daily 200 MA like to the pixel. So as long as it trades above here, I do think it will just keep grinding up the same way it has been doing. At some point, probably accelerate if especially if Bitcoin breaks out, for example. But for now, I mean, pretty steady uptrend. It's going relatively quick, all things considered. So as long as we're turning up, I'm a holder. So I'm a fan of this, especially now it's trading above like this 15, 16 region. But I do want to see it hold here. Sure, it can go a bit lower and also test this day 200 EMA, for example, would still technically be a higher low compared to this one. But yeah, I mean, ideally, we just keep holding above here, seeing this was such a big level to push through. Took some time, so would be strongest to just keep going here. All right, that's it. I mean, exciting times ahead. We finally did break out. The structure has changed back to bullish. But I mean, it's going to be volatile for the next few weeks. I'd say take it a bit chill. You don't want to get crazy on the leverage and then get stopped out or get liquidated because some news comes out regarding the elections or whatever. We know how quick these things can change. I do also think leverage will get crazy on the Trump win. Like we'll probably go on like a crazy 2-3 week pump, likely top out a bit for there and then consolidate and head higher later on. Yeah, I mean, even if that happens, try to be chill on the leverage because it can seem easy and FOMO is going to be there, but you don't want to generally risk too much while potentially like the next big move is just starting. So your spot holds will already yield you plenty of returns, and especially if the market gets really crazy, like there's no need to add on more leverage because if your coins go like 2-3x in the span of a few months, and that's plenty, of course, and there's no need to risk that to get a little more. So that's kind of how I'm seeing it, and of course this is different for everyone, but that's kind of how I'm seeing it and how I'm playing it. So with that said, thank you all very much for watching. I hope you all have a good week and take care. Bye bye.